Hello, and welcome to We Turned Out Okay. This is the show where we are always working to help you tread the path that is truly your own and not one that somebody told you ought to be on. I am Karen Locke-Culp. I am the host of this show, and I'm also internationally known for things like human development, for things like family relations, and for my work in play as self-care. And I'm so excited because once again, I am joined by my awesome RLI family roundtable. This is ClaireYvonne Nesbitt, Marilyn Dollar, and Tom Lancaster here once more so if you listened to the last episode, we had a wonderful conversation all around these different aspects that we kind of all agreed that we were all talking about the same thing, just in different ways. We each brought a different topic to the roundtable, and it kind of turned out we were all talking towards the same high ideals. And I am going to link to that episode in the show notes because you're going to want to hear it if you haven't already. And today we decided that we would do a quick kind of a lightning round sharing of like a quote that we live by. And it's funny because some of us were like, oh, I know immediately. And some of us were like, well, wait a second, let me think on it. So there's been some looking up, some making sure that things are right. And I think, now we've got them. So let's get started. Who wants to jump in and share?
Sure.
Yay. Welcome, Tom.
It's funny, whenever anyone's like, who wants to share, I'm always like, me, and I don't want to. But then no one else does, and then I'm like, okay, me.
It's hard to be first, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And as the host, I feel like my job is not always to be first, but instead to encourage others to be first. So that felt like a long pause, and I was like, I'm just gonna ride it out. So I'm proud of you for jumping in.
So, okay, so my quote is by Michael Meade, who is a mythopoetic author who has studied myths and traditions and folklore and written a bunch of books. And this is from his book, The Genius Myth. And he says, the point in youth and at any point in life is not to avoid trouble at all costs. The point is to find the right trouble to be in. For when in trouble, we are closer to inner resources we did not know we had, and nearer to the knowing spirit that brought us to life in the first place.
Wow. So, what's really interesting is the challenge for me, I don't know about you three, is going to be, because I want to dive into that quote, right? I want to spend half an hour talking about
it. And it's so Tom, because you could just see him climbing mountains, pushing himself and getting to his inner better place. It's so good.
Yeah. Tom, why that one? Why does that one resonate?
So my whole jam is around adventure, right? My whole jam is adventure, but adventure is an attitude rather than an activity. So many people think of adventure as a thing that you do, right? And maybe you're going to go on an adventure, maybe you're going to go on a holiday, or maybe you're going to read a book. Like it's just a thing. But adventure for me is an attitude of curiosity, of play, of all the things that we talked about in the last episode: play, courage, willingness to fail. All of that stuff is part of adventure. And this quote for me really sums that up, because on the one hand, we learn and grow through play, as we talked about last time, but on the other hand, we learn and grow through being out of our depth, through being in trouble. And if we don't actively seek out that trouble, we never grow. The snake, when the snake is ready to shed its skin, it has to go and find sharp rocks and thorny bushes to rub itself up against, to shake that skin loose so that it can actually grow into the newer skin, into the bigger skin. And we have to do the same. And when we choose to live a life of comfort, of safety, of avoiding pain, then it's it's fine, but it's a very small life, and there's so much more available. Anyone who listened last time ClaireYvonne brought up, living life according to our own melody, and it's through play, through curiosity, and finding yourself in trouble. That's how we figure out what our melody is, and that's how we live a life that is rich and on purpose and meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Tom.
Thank you.
Marilyn, what about you? What's the quote that you're bringing today?
Oh, she's calling on us now, ClaireYvonne.
Well, in the last episode, I called on ClaireYvonne first, so now I'm calling on you first.
I kind of like that you called on her first. Okay, so my quote is by Kavita Ramdas. We need women who are so strong they can be gentle, so educated, so fierce they can be compassionate, so passionate they can be rational, and so disciplined they can be free. And for me, this is about, let me take care of my side of the street first, in service of the togetherness that my soul really seeks. I think I spent probably my first half of my year feeling dependent on somebody to fix me, help me, get me out of something. The second half of my life, I've been, how do I take responsibility? How do I become the very best version of me so that I can have more space to be together with other people? Not in a needy way, but maybe I can be of service. Maybe I can just be. Maybe I can just enjoy being with other people.
That's beautiful. It's a little bit like putting on your own oxygen mask first. We did talk about that last time as well. Like, it's got to come from here. Change needs to come from here first, from our hearts first. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so tempted to invite everyone into a discussion, but but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to reference everybody to go listen to the last one if you haven't yet, because this is, again, so beautiful and so much about what came
and
up.
the section of the last episode that is relevant to this is asking for help.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because, Marilyn, that was you too. That was your idea as well.
That was I've gotten better at, now I can ask for help, but I can also give help. It's more, I've become a two-way conduit, right? I give and I receive, and that ebbs and flows depending on the topic or the day. I mean, just like ClaireYvonne, what you were saying about finding your inner melody, I try and do that every morning, getting into meditation and journaling. What does my soul want for today? What am I craving to do today? And I don't know what that is always. Like at the last episode, Tom was outside and I was not. And so immediately I was drawn to being outside. And so here I am. And so I'm always trying to find that intersection of how can I show up as my best self and be with other people.
Amazing. I love this so much. Thank you, Marilyn. That's beautiful. I love how there's this connection between, what I found myself thinking about was the idea that we often are drawn to coach people who are also, our challenges are similar to their challenges, or were similar to their challenges. So that comes up for me in this moment as well.
Sure.
So ClaireYvonne, what did you bring today?
I've gone different from what we had the pre-chat.
Oh, wonderful! It'll be a surprise
because it was sort of, you moved it into that we live by, and I was like, oh. So if you would allow me, I would like to share one of my poems.
That would be wonderful. Yes, please.
So I have a poem,
Cool.
and it's a poem I actually wrote during the time of the intensive where we all met. So it seems appropriate, and I shared it actually in my well, with the source team, and I also shared it in my call, you know, the poetry session that I led in the connection corners. So, and it's called Magic. And it was inspired because I truly fundamentally believe that everybody is magic. We all have magic within us. So that's the essence, and is something that I live by. So it seems appropriate. So, magic. Do you believe in magic? Who, me? Do you believe in mystic? Yes, you. Do you believe in you? Then you believe in magic. Each and every one of us through is magic deep and magic true. Magic I, magic me, magic you, and magic we. Sorcery, mystic, witchcraft, wizardry, serendipity, synchronicity, spirit connect, soar on high. You, me, you, and I. We create, we grow, we energize, we flow, we fly, you, me, you, and I. So go forth and be for all to see. Go forth and lead. Yes, you and me. Go dream, go out. Go dream, go shout, as this is what it's all about. Spread the love around the world. Inspire, innate. You, me, I, and we. What an impact we can be. Do you believe in magic? Who, me? Do you believe in mystic? Yes, you. Do you believe in me and we and I and you? Then you believe in magic too.
We are all clapping.
So good.
How
So good. I want you to
beautiful.
turn that into a children's book. That's so beautiful. It's so good. I could just see the pictures. So good. And I loved hearing you read it. So good.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share, because I do love sharing them.
So it really reminded me of my I spent several years in the live storytelling kind of world, where I did like a Moss style story slam. I don't know if you've ever heard of story slams, but oh, this is such a fun world. It's such fun. And what you do is you have a story that you tell without notes, without props. And it needs to be, you know, for competitive, it needs to be in a certain amount of time. And there's such an energy to it. And that was really what I was feeling, ClaireYvonne. I just was like, I remember thinking, just as you were reading, or as you were sharing your poem, I was like, I could listen to this voice, oh my God, forever. And Tom and Marilyn are nodding. And I was really so pulled into the idea of it, because I do believe in magic, and what all that means, you know, is that I believe in me is really and it's just, oh, woo, I have goosebumps. So good. Thank you. That was delightful. Now, you had mentioned, you know, I don't mean to call you out, but you had mentioned that is there a book in draft? Is this something that
I wonder what you're going to say then. Yes. I was like, oh gosh. Yes, there is. I literally have just finished this week my first draft of my poetry book, my first ever poetry book, called Suitcase Poems, Reflections from a Global Lockdown. And they're poems from my travels in Croatia and Mexico at the end of 2020 and in 2021. This one isn't in there because this is more recent. So,
we're clamoring for a volume 2 then, please.
There will be. I've got about 50 and there's only 22 in that book. So
oh, how wonderful. What fun.
I'm telling you, children's book. To be able to have that kind of a visual, like I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and I'm always looking for, can I find a gender neutral book? Or can I find a femme strength book? You know, I don't want some fairy tale. She's bought into Frozen already. I don't want that for her. I want her to see that it's a world of people who connect, who lean on each other, who are trying to change the world into something better, that's hopeful, and that's a little bit mystical and magical. And
like, I think
your
I'm
poem was just so
starting.
great. I loved it.
Thank you. I think I'm starting with a creative coach on the weekend. We'll see. So we'll see whether, I think I'm going to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival on the street for a couple of days. Well, I don't think I have committed to, so I will be doing 2 days on the Edinburgh streets reading my poems.
Oh, what a
I only live 20
awesome.
minutes from Edinburgh, so it's a bit of a...
That's awesome.
But an audio book as well. But I love the children's book idea. I hadn't even registered that. So to find an artist who would love to create a poem.
And so it is.
Yes.
And so it is. Maybe we should catch up after this.
So, and I was thinking too, it would be a wonderful book to have. This poem illustrated would be an amazing book to have for when someone's graduating high school or college or moving into a new phase of life. I mean,
or a gift for a new client.
Or a gift for a new
I would give
client.
that book to I would give that to a client.
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. ClaireYvonne's eyes are very wide. She's
And this is where the magic happens.
Yeah, yeah. The wheels are turning. Oh, very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's beautiful.
Thank you, guys.
So I am in this moment changing my quote from, I'm going to share both of them, but the quote that I'm going to share first is the one that I've lived by for years because it's gotten me out of so much unhappiness. And that quote is, it's by Brian Sutton Smith. And the quote is, "The opposite of play is not work, it's depression." And that resonated with me so much. It's a quote I live by because I know in my heart that when we don't have play in our lives, all we have is depression. I mean, really, really, really. And on this show, I will share this episode as well. I interviewed a guy named Charlie Hone a couple of years ago who had written a book called Play It Away. And it was all about he almost died because of a lack of play is really what it came down to. And play is what brought him back, returned him to life. And it's such an interesting story. Anyway, so I will link to that. But recently I came across a quote that I think sort of, you know how they say sometimes, you guys, what got you here won't get you there. So I'm fan, everybody's nodding, just for audio listeners. So I feel like the idea of the opposite of play is not work, it's depression really did get me here. But it's a little negative. There's like, you bring up depression in this quote, right? Like there's something about it that isn't where I'm going now. And so the new quote that I'm sharing today that I'm going to change in my signature, you know, in all over the internet is by Albert Einstein, who I've gotten so many great ideas from Albert Einstein. I love him so much. And this one is, play is the highest form of research. And if I can live into that, if I can live into that's where the fun starts, I feel like. So that's
say it one more time, Paige. Just say it one more time.
Play is the highest form of research. So, and I forgot, you just call me Kay, Marilyn. I forgot when I introduced myself, I didn't say that everybody here in this conversation knows me as Kay, but that's me. that's a way of playing, actually. It's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit of a different thing for me. So, yeah, play is the highest form.
It was also Einstein who said, "What got you here won't get you there," if I'm not mistaken.
Was it really?
I may be wrong about that.
Oh, I love
with
that.
Something. Well, no, Einstein said that you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which is
true.
amounts to the same thing.
Yeah. He's got a long, I actually did a whole episode on this. I'll see if I can find it. On how, on what happens when the thinking is, when we believe that the universe is a friendly place or an unfriendly place. And like all our resources, all our thinking, all our skills development goes towards different things depending on what we believe. And Einstein believes that the world is a friendly place, the universe is a friendly place. And I've always loved that. In fact, I mean, if I think about Einstein, so he's always been a huge inspiration to me because he did not speak. He didn't use words like at all. He had no words until he was like 3 years old. And all over his life, words came, his mind just thought in so many different dimensions that words didn't come very easily to him. And I speak with so many parents who are so worried about their children. They, you know, they're doing this thing not in order. They didn't, you know, they didn't crawl. Because some children don't, right? I'm worried about them because they're insisting that their name is not their name or something like that. Like, right? Like children do these things.
Mhm.
And I always think about Albert Einstein not speaking until he was 3. And like sometimes kids just need that space, you know? So.
It makes me think of Thomas Edison, another mom thing. He got sent home from school with a note, and his mother opens the note and she reads it and she says, you know, Thomas Edison is so brilliant and so bright, and you know, we don't have any more resources for him here. He's just so far ahead of everybody. And so his mom decided to homeschool him, and she taught him everything new and helped him research and all the things. And years later, this is going to make me emotional. Years later, when she passed away, he found that letter in her pile of letters, and it said, Thomas Edison is so below average. We can do nothing for him. We cannot help him anymore here. You're going to have to homeschool him.
Wow. I did not know.
But you think about, as a mom or as a friend or as a coach, how impactful your belief in someone else is. And sometimes you only need one person to believe that about you. And look at all the things that Thomas Edison tried to make and how many failures he had. But look at the things that succeeded.
Wow.
Because his mom believed in him.
Yeah. That gets, so
that story always.
Yeah. We've got about 3 minutes here. And it's making me think of a conversation, Tom, that you and I were having with our Kinetic Wizards, wonderful, wonderful people, a couple of weeks ago. And you shared, and I will try and link to it in the show notes. It was about, we were talking about expectations and how, because the expectations that Edison's mom had for him brought him to where he eventually got, right? And if she had believed that note, and if she had decided, oh, my child is a dunce and will never learn anything, that would have been we would have had a whole different Edison, right?
It would have been his path, and we'd never have had light bulbs.
Yes. Yeah. And I wonder, Tom, if you would share about that. You contributed to that conversation a couple weeks ago now about a photography sort of experiment. Do you remember it?
Yeah, it was actually it was a marketing thing for Nikon, I believe, where they told 6 different photographers 6 different stories about the same person and had them take a photo of him. So one of the photographers got told he was a CEO, one of them got told he was a gang leader, one of them got told he was an alcoholic, one of them got told
he was like a millionaire,
he was an artist, and one was a millionaire. I can't remember what they all were. But and that was all they were told. This is a millionaire. We want you to take his photo. In the same room as well. And the photos that came out were so different. And the photographer that believed he was an alcoholic, the photo was taken from above, and so he looked diminished, and he was like looking down at the floor, and like it was directed to be, he looked downtrodden and downcast. And the CEO was like, he was like puffed up shoulders and like, oh, like taken from below.
So
I'd love to hear see the link to that if there's something online.
Same.
Yeah, I've actually watched it, and I will make sure that well, I'm going to link to it in these show notes.
Thanks.
But I will make sure that I get it to you guys.
Thank you.
Because it's
Thanks, Kay.
really something else, and it really speaks to the expectations of the So we, if there are parents listening, right, the way that what we expect of our kids, and one of my favorite examples of this is a woman that I worked with in my private coaching community, whose daughter she was like, I just don't know what to do. She's incredibly disrespectful. She lies all the time. You know, she's like a 6-7-year-old kid. And the mom was like, I'm at my wit's end, you know, like she'll tell me she brushed her teeth, but then it's so clear that she didn't. And there's a principle here at stake. And we talked a lot about how expectations will make this or break this. And she ended up saying, you know, what I'm going to believe is that her belief that she adopted was, I have the most respectful child in the world. And you could hear the joy in her voice, you know, as she was sort of saying that. And things got much better because her expectations shifted, you know? So, yeah, well, we are here at the end of our time together, and I'm wondering, ClaireYvonne, Marilyn Dollar, Tom Lancaster, do any of you have a final thought that you'd like to share, or each of you maybe, something to share?
I have about 10,000.
Another episode, perhaps.
I think it demonstrates the power
so
of
good.
Power of the collective. Is yeah. There we go.
Agreed.
I think that's the mic drop.
This was really special.
Yeah, that's a very good
you.
word for it. Thank you so much for being here, Tom, Marilyn, ClaireYvonne. It's been amazing to have you. Maybe we'll get to do this again sometime. Who knows?
You know where to find us.
Yep. And thank you so much for listening and for watching, because some people are watching in YouTube as well. So thank you very much for being here with us. Every time I record an episode, I just get thankful all over again that you are here with me, that you're here today with us. It really means a lot. And I always have a special thank you to our producer, the man whose voice you hear at the top of the show, the man who contributes his audio genius to making the show sound amazing, the man who really is my life partner and someone that isn't afraid to go deep. And I think that's what's such fun about him. So he is also the 24-time winner of the Husband of the Year Award. He's Benjamin Culp. If you're listening, honey, thank you so much for being here with us. All right. Thank you so much for listening to everybody out there, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.